to ask me anything regarding health, nutrition, fitness, any other topics you may be curious about. My goal is just to provide you with as much value as possible, maybe get you on the right track, and get the ball moving along just a little bit. So if you have any questions, I can guarantee that somebody else has the same exact question. So by asking me a question, you get an answer to it, but so do other people. So you're effectively helping probably hundreds of other people by asking me a question. And before I get into the questions and the answers, if you're watching me on live, just type live down in the comments below. Or if you're watching this video at a later time on the replay, type replay down below so I know when you saw this video and when you got this information. So the ways it's going to work is, ask me all the questions you want to ask me. I'll see it on my screen right here. I'll pick some questions to answer more in detail, in depth. So if you ask a question, I'll likely get to you, but I can't personally get back to everyone as much as I would like to. So ask me all the questions you want to ask. I'll get back to as many people as I possibly can. What's up, Charles? And let me know where you're watching me from. I'm from New York. I'm curious where you watch me from right now. I know there's a lot of people from different parts of the country, different parts of the world. And I'm just curious where you watch me from right now. Charles lost 64 pounds. That's amazing, Charles. Congratulations. Cool. So we got a question from Miranda. How do you take the first steps? You know what? That sounds dumb. It does not sound dumb. So how do you take the first steps? That's a question that a lot of people ask themselves, and that's where ultimately they fail because they have no idea what to do. So, you know, I'll give you a few steps, a few maybe details that you can just apply right now to get yourself on the right track. I'm not exactly sure where you're at or where you want to be at, but as a general sense, I could imagine maybe you're talking about losing weight. So that's what I'm going to go with because that will apply to you and a lot of other people. So if you want to just get on the right track to maybe living a healthier life, maybe dropping a few pounds, maybe more than a few pounds. Now, here's what you can do. The first thing I would suggest to you to ask yourself is, what have you tried before? Likely it was very restrictive diets, maybe detoxes, maybe cleanses. So the first thing that you shouldn't do is don't do any of those things that you've done before because they will lead you to fail because they're crazy restrictions. They're maybe even elimination diets. So what I would suggest is instead of looking at this from a very deprived, very restrictive mindset, you have to look at this as an abundance mindset. So what I mean by this is don't think to yourself or ask yourself, how little can I possibly eat to lose weight, as much weight as possible, but just survive. You don't want to be in a mindset where where you're catching yourself trying to survive by eating as little as possible just to get by. You don't want to be in that headspace because that will get you to fail. You want to allow yourself to eat as much food as possible while losing weight. Because if you eat as little as possible, it's not sustainable. And you want this to be as sustainable as possible. So you have to have an abundance mindset. You want to actually eat as much food as possible while losing weight. So this may look like for you, or how this may look like for you, is being in a calorie deficit and eating as many calories as relevant to you. Maybe you want to type in your body goals and your stuff like that into a calculator, get a number, and eat as much as possible while losing weight slowly. People don't want to lose weight slowly all the time because they want more fast results, and that's what it causes you to fail because you may lose 6 pounds, get very hyped up and say that, oh, this is amazing, I lost 6, 7, 8 pounds. But next week comes along, you've deprived yourself for a whole week leading up to that point. You lose all control because you can't sustain it. You're going to end up gaining the weight back, probably more than that, and just feel like a failure. So losing a little bit of weight by eating as much food as possible is exactly what you should be doing from the beginning. And if this made sense to you, what I just said so far, drop a fire emoji down below so I know this is actually making sense, because a lot of people want to lose as much weight as possible by eating as little as possible. But the second thing that you should do is don't do any kinds of crazy cardio. You could, but I wouldn't suggest it, because if you're starting from like ground zero, for example, point zero, you don't want to, or for example, let's say you're at level 0 and somebody else is at level 10. You shouldn't do somebody else's level 10 if you're at level 0. Do level 1. Go for a walk. Go for max, maybe a jog, maybe a bike ride, stationary or regular bike. You have to gradually increase your activity level. So don't do crazy kinds of cardio. Don't do crazy kinds of workouts because you don't need to do that right now. Or generally, if you don't have to do that, it's a good thing to work out, but you don't have to. Go for a short walk. Eat the right food. Get a decent amount of sleep, and don't think about the supplements that you should be taking. Especially, that's where I was in. When I first started losing weight, I started to think about supplements. What's the best fat burner? What's the best pre-workout? The best protein? The best this? The L-carnitine? Like all these things. That stuff matters maybe 1 or 2%. Generally speaking, even the protein powders don't matter that much. If you eat real food, if you are active as much as you need to be, if you get adequate amounts of sleep, a decent amount of water intake, you work out to build some muscle, that's the fundamentals that will drive the most of your success. But focusing on the small things that you think are bigger than they are is what will get you to fail. So do less, don't run, just jog a little bit, go for a short workout maybe, and eat real food. That will drive the most of your success. Hopefully this made sense. I'm seeing everybody's questions here, and let's answer some more questions. Can women lose weight if their hormones are imbalanced? Even if your hormones are imbalanced, you will likely need to eat a different amount of calories than if your hormones were, in a better place. So I would first suggest to go to a medical professional, see exactly what's going on, and not look for answers on Google or on Facebook, because you have to see a professional. Once you get a concrete answer exactly what's going on, where your metabolism actually is, because you don't want to guess about this. You don't want to guess about what your hormones are doing, what to fix them, because you're doing Google searches. Seek a medical professional's advice and opinion, and see where to go from there. Because as a general sense, your calories will still matter, even if your hormones aren't imbalanced. But how many calories you will need will be different, because hormones and calories drive weight loss. It's not just about calories, because hormones drive how hungry you are. All that stuff matters as far as how many calories you consume. So seek a medical professional's advice and opinion and go from there. Should you be more focused on your macro numbers or calorie deficit number for weight loss? From Denver, Colorado. So calories by far matter the most in a weight loss phase or weight gain phase. So calories matter first. Macros also matter, because you have to see how to break up your calories, because protein is extremely important. But you also want to make sure you're getting enough fats in so your brain feels fine, so your brain function is optimal, or as well as it can be. Because if you only listen, you can lose weight eating McDonald's. Do you want to? Probably not, because it's not going to be that filling. You can lose weight eating nothing but cereal. But do you want to? Probably not, because you won't be so full and there's no fat inside cereal, or that much fat. But why do you need fat? Because your brain functions on fat. You need to have a decent amount of fat in your nutrition. So it's a balance of everything. It doesn't have to be so meticulous and so detail oriented as far as what percentages do I break down my macros. That stuff matters later on. Right now, you just focus on calories generally. If you want to eat more protein, fine. If you want to eat a bit more fat, fine. Don't focus on the details. They don't matter as nearly as much as people make it out to be. How long should you fast for? I've done intermittent fasting before, on and off over many years, primarily because I like it. It's not magical. It's not revolutionary. There's no special things about it. The reason why I did intermittent fasting, and I imagine that's what you're talking about, Tina, is uh, intermittent fasting. So I did it because I'm a huge nighttime eater. And if my eating window ends at 8 p.m. and I tell myself I can eat zero food or consume zero calories, that's a game changer for me, because I go from eating a little bit or picking food here and there a little bit to telling myself you can't eat after this time. And what that does effectively is I stop eating late at night, or as much as I was doing before. But how much should you fast for? I mean, that's relevant to you. I've seen people fast for or do one meal per day, which I don't know how they do it. It seems really impossible. Probably not the most optimal thing for putting on muscle is doing one meal per day, but you can do it if you want to. I fasted for 16 hours, usually from I ate between 12 to 8 or 11 to 7, just because it worked for me. It wasn't magical by any means. If you want to try it, try it. Just don't expect any kind of crazy magical results. And the most important thing about intermittent fasting, if that's what you're talking about, is if it fits your schedule. Because a lot of times people force themselves to do intermittent fasting when they just need to eat early in the day because they train super early, or maybe they start their shift super early. So it becomes impossible trying to fit in intermittent fasting if you have a very early starting schedule. How do you complete your final 12 pounds? So the remaining part of your weight loss, if you've lost a dramatic amount of or drastic amount of weight, it will take some rearrangement of your calories, maybe readjustment because you've already lost some weight. Your metabolism has went down. And by the way, if you lose weight, generally your metabolism will decrease. That is completely normal because your body has less mass to feed. Because even your fat takes calories to sustain itself, as does muscle, as does tissue, as does fat. It's just that muscle takes more calories to sustain itself than fat does, which is why people think that, oh, this, use myself as an example. I was 365, so people were sometimes told me, oh, his metabolism is slow because he's so fat he can't lose weight. Well, people that are overweight or obese actually have a higher metabolism because they have so much fat that it takes calories to sustain themselves. So it comes down to not your metabolism, but your eating habits. Because somebody that has, if you take two same people, but one person has 100 pounds more fat, that person that is more overweight will take more calories to keep their weight, which will mean that their metabolism is actually higher. So you want to readjust your calories as you lose weight, maybe every couple of months, maybe every 3 to 6 months, readjust your calories and see what your new metabolism or basal metabolic rate is. Hopefully that makes sense. If that makes sense so far, drop a fire emoji down below because I know a lot of people say that um, overweight people have a slower metabolism. It's not true. Do I recommend using weights when walking? Probably not. It just adds more complexity to it. If you want to put some ankle weights because maybe you don't work out, maybe you want to increase the intensity a little bit because you want to, by all means do it. But I've never done it. I know people that do it, but it's not necessary whatsoever. Great question so far. How about the dreaded emotional eating? I've talked to my therapist about this, but wanted to know if you had any advice when it comes to depression and eating habits. So depression, you got to figure that out by yourself with a professional. But as far as emotional eating, it's a big problem for a lot of people. People eat away their stress, their emotions, a lot of different feelings. So what I would suggest, this is not me telling you, this is me suggesting that what I've done personally with my clients is that sometimes you get triggered by different foods. Maybe if you're under stress and you feel like it's just too much and your favorite food is in front of you, you're going to lose control over it. So maybe what you can try doing is not have that food in front of you. Maybe just completely take it out of the picture by not keeping it in the house. It may work for you, it may not work for somebody else. Because if that food is in front of you and you lose control, you just will eat it naturally. So try doing that. But also, you have to surround yourself with the best choices possible, or just options, not the best choice, but options of food around you. And I've shared this before in a different video and with my clients. There was a study done where these scientists they found a factory with a break room in it that had nothing but soda in the vending machines. And naturally, the workers on their break period went to the lunch break room, and for the drinks they had a soda machine that only had Coke in it, I think, or a soda in it, and they drank the soda. But without telling the workers at that factory, they put next to the soda regular water. They didn't tell them; they just poured it next to it. So now those workers had the option of picking water alongside the soda. So what a lot of the workers did is they drank the water because it was just an option, and as a result, they lost weight. They got healthier without even realizing what they're doing. Because if you give yourself more options, if you just place better for you choices around you, if you're reaching for something, you have an opportunity to reach for something better, which will be better for your goals. So this may be an option that you can try for yourself as far as emotional eating. Give yourself more options. Maybe go for a short walk and clear your head. That helps me a lot. That's what I'm actually going to do after this video, is go for a walk because the weather is absolutely nice. But you can try that yourself. Take the food out of the picture. Give yourself more options. Clear your head. and get down to the details about the roots of why you're actually feeling this way. Maybe you want to pause for like 30 seconds to a minute and ask yourself, am I really hungry, or am I just eating out of boredom or emotions? If you pause and you give yourself that opportunity to ask yourself a question instead of straight going for that piece of food or the cereal that you want to eat for some reason, if you pause for a little bit and ask yourself that question, am I really hungry? This will be hugely beneficial to you because it will allow you to make that realization about what's actually going on. Hopefully this helped a little bit. How many calories should you eat if you're 5'10"? I don't know. I can't tell you that. That's a calculation that I can't tell you off the top of my head. But if you want to find out your calories, you can either type in TDEE calculator into Google. There's probably hundreds of them out there, or you can maybe track your calories for a few weeks or a month accurately and consistently and see how your weight fluctuates or it doesn't fluctuate. And if it doesn't fluctuate after you're tracking all your food, and I mean like all your food, once your weight stops fluctuating, you found your maintenance calories. And from your maintenance calories, take away a few hundred and you will be at your deficit. Teresa asks, what's the best advice to push through and get over a plateau? First, you should ask yourself, am I really in a plateau? A lot of people think they're in a plateau because it's the easy thing to say. I'm not losing weight, I'm in a plateau. Likely you're not in a plateau. A plateau is when you're actually tracking all your food, you're truly in a calorie deficit, and you're still not losing weight. So what I would suggest first, if you think you're in a plateau, is ask yourself, are you tracking your food consistently and accurately? Because if there's inaccuracy or inconsistency in the food logging that you're doing, you're not in a plateau, you're just inaccurate or inconsistent. It's not also about tracking food, because if maybe 1 week you spent an hour per day working out or maybe going for a cardio session, and next week you're not doing anything at all, maybe just 1 hour once a week, that's a lot of less calories that you're not exerting anymore. So you went from 7 hours a week of activity to 1 or 2 hours a week of activity, and now you're not losing weight. You're not in a plateau. Your calorie expenditure has changed drastically. You might be eating the same amount of food, but now you're not spending so many calories on activity, which will cause an imbalance in your calories. And it's about calories in versus calories out. And if you're actually, after doing all of these things, if you still find yourself in a plateau, what I would suggest is either increase your activity by a tiny bit, maybe an extra 15 minutes of walking every day, maybe an extra workout day at most. Probably not, because that's like a last resort. Or just reduce your daily calories by about 150, maybe 200 or so, and see how your weight changes afterwards. Great questions, by the way. If you have any other questions, ask me them in the comments below, and I'll answer as many as I can, because if I answer somebody's question, it will likely help out hundreds of other people out there that have the same exact question as you have. How many times a month should you weigh yourself? My weight is almost always so different. So your weight will fluctuate. I can drink this glass of water right here and be up 2 pounds. Depends on time of day. If you weigh yourself in the morning and now you weigh yourself in the evening, you might fluctuate 5 pounds. So you should always weigh yourself under the same conditions. What I mean by that is at the same time of the day, wearing the same amount of clothing, the same scale. If you're always, or I would suggest, just to weigh yourself after using the restroom and before eating or drinking anything, to keep the same variables and have there be less inconsistencies in there. But as far as how many times a month should you weigh yourself, that's up to you. As long as you have an idea about where your weight is, how it's moving. So some of my clients do it once a week. Some of my clients do it 3 times a week. Some people do it twice a month. I personally do it every day because that's just what I enjoy, what I started doing in the last 4 or 5 months. So I can see every day how my weight is fluctuating based on my choices. Doesn't mean you got to do it that way. It's just what works for me. But as long as you got an idea about what's going on, that's all that matters. Thomas says, thank you, Alex, for all things that you do. I have lost 27 pounds watching my videos. That's amazing, Thomas. That's amazing. Congratulations. JB asks, you're down 111 pounds in the past 10 months, 19 more to go. Visceral fat around my midsection left. Any tips losing that? Yeah, just keep going. Keep losing weight and see where you're at. There's nothing specific that you can do to target that fat. Just keep losing as much fat as you can. When you have like over 100 pounds of fat to lose, like I have, you get a lot of problem areas, in different parts of your body. So best thing that you can do is just keep going, keep strength training, putting on as much muscle as you can, keep losing fat gradually, and just see where you end up. Reach your goal. If you're not satisfied, keep pushing. It's about where you're comfortable at, and it depends on you and how you see yourself and what's good for you. What you actually enjoy seeing, because the goals we have today aren't the goals we're going to have tomorrow or next month, because they will always change and keep pushing forward. So as far as problem areas in the midsection, so maybe that's your problem area. That is for me. So keep pushing, pour on as much muscle as you can, and lose as much body fat as you can, and reevaluate once you've made that change or made that progress. Keep asking me questions. You can't get used to drinking water. Can I recommend other beverages? Yeah, you can put some water seasonings like Crystal Light, Mio. Maybe drink some coffee, maybe some tea. I personally also love drinking Coke Zero. That's one of my things. I have like one or two per day um, for dinner. You don't have to drink water. It's about liquids. You got to remember that also vegetables have tons of liquids. Fruits have tons of liquids. So don't feel forced to drink an excess amount of water for some reason because somebody else told you to. Make sure you're not thirsty. Make sure that you're not drinking 1 cup of water per day, but make sure it's a bit more, and you'll be absolutely fine. If you're getting any value from this video so far, drop a fire emoji in the comments below so I know that this is actually helping somebody out. That's a good question. Tatiana asks, what can we do with loose skin? So this is honestly one of the biggest, or not biggest, most popular questions that I get is people see that I have photos up and I have abs and stuff like that, and where's your loose skin? And that's such a common question. So I have loose skin. I just don't show it because it is a insecurity of mine. I'll put a shit up like that because I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy looking at it, and it's a problem for me. So what happens with loose skin is it's if you lose a tremendous amount of weight or whatever that means for you, you will have loose skin, likely. There's only one way to get rid of it, just one way, and that is surgery. That's it. Can you minimize it? Absolutely. How do you minimize loose skin? Because your skin has elasticity. Once it stretches past a certain point and it rips, it cannot rebound anymore, period. So don't look at any kinds of creams, wraps, belts. That stuff doesn't work. You're just going to waste your money. So what can you actually do to minimize loose skin? The first thing is don't lose weight too quickly. Lose it a bit slower. Put on as much muscle as you can. Because what happens when you put on more muscle, it pushes the skin out a little bit because you have muscle underneath it, and it will reduce the look of the loose skin. But your only choice is surgery. That's it. Hopefully that helps. I mean, if you have a few pounds to lose, maybe 30, 40, 50 pounds, you will probably not have loose skin. But if you have maybe 70 plus, 80 plus pounds to lose, you will likely have loose skin. But it should not deter you away from not making a change. I get so many people messaging me telling me that, or commenting on my videos saying that I want to lose weight, but I don't want to have loose skin. It just blows my mind because who cares about the loose skin? Honestly, cross that bridge when you get there. What is worse for your health? Having some loose skin that doesn't really make a difference just visually to you, or having maybe health complications associated with carrying on the extra weight? It's about what's more important to the person. And to me, it's clear as day that you should prioritize your health and screw the loose skin. If you have it, have it. Get rid of it later if you want to. But why possibly keep undergoing the same health complications because you're holding on to the weight, or experience these health complications later on if your weight doesn't get managed? That matters to me so much more than the possibility of loose skin. Just to me, it makes sense. How do I get my skin to not be horrifically loose? So I'm 6'4" and I'm decently muscular, so the skin will just naturally stretch more. So, for example, maybe 135 pounds lost for me will have less loose skin than somebody else that's maybe 5'6" or five, whatever, shorter than me, with the same amount of weight loss. So it's about ratios, proportions, stuff like that. So I'm 6'4" and I'm decently muscular. That's why my loose skin may not be as drastic as somebody else who doesn't have my measurements or me maybe as muscular as me. I'm saying that just to, you know, show relevancy or relatability. Absolutely amazing job. People show me how much weight they lose in the comments, and it just makes me really happy just to see this. Uh, so somebody asks me, how do you connect with me as a coach? So if you want to work with me, I have links in my Instagram bio. I have links in my TikTok bio if you want to click it to work with me. Or if you don't want to use the links and you want to shoot me a message on Facebook. It's Facebook's URL, alex.solomon. Shoot me a message, say coach me or something like that, and I will reach back out to you. If you don't want to use those links that are in my bios. Yeah, so loose skin is a big deal, but it's not as big of a deal if it's not as big of a deal as people make it out to be. And if it's stopping you from losing weight, take a step back and realize what's more important to you: health complications and all the things that go along with it, or some loose skin that may not even be there because you haven't gotten to that step yet. You know, don't stop yourself before you even take the leap. Somebody told me before, leap and the net will appear. That's exactly what you got to do. You're down 10 pounds in 3 weeks. Watch my videos. That's amazing. Thank you for watching them. How do I feel about 0-calorie drinks or caffeine drinks? I love it. There is no human evidence suggesting that artificial sweeteners are bad by any means for human consumption. Absolutely zero. You can do actual research on Google. There's studies by scientists that have proven this. And if you don't believe me, I mean, you don't have to believe me. Just go on Google, find these studies, and you will see that they are safe for human consumption. So I love them. I appreciate everybody for being here today. It's got some really nice questions here. Any thoughts on laser treatment on stretch marks? Stretch marks are something that I have dealt with and still dealing with over the course of many years. Like, I'm covered in them. You can probably not, the camera's not picking up, but they're everywhere. So what I've tried before was derma rollers, the little spiky rollers, creams and stuff like that, and stuff doesn't work. It's all nonsense. You're just gonna waste your time. And as far as laser treatments, I've heard of them. I've never tried them, but I can only imagine they're probably BS as well. I mean, you can try them. Hopefully, I'm wrong, but there, as far as I understand, there is no concrete solution to stretch marks. The best solution to them is just to wait long enough to the point where they become less visible, and that will take time. So you switch to working nights, you're struggling with what are good times to eat. Any suggestions? So working night shift is something that I deal with myself because I don't know how many of you knows, but I left my full-time career last January, and I used to work night shifts, swing shift. I mean, every single shift, right? The second and third shift, the first shift, all that kind of stuff. And the times that you eat don't really matter because at the end of every single day, it's how many calories did you eat. So for me personally, when I was doing my night shift, I wasn't that hungry in the evening. Like at 3 o'clock in the morning, I just couldn't eat. But I still kind of ate something like a small, maybe small meal, a wrap, maybe some yogurts, maybe some fruit, just so I can eat something. But I wasn't that hungry. If you are hungry during a night shift, just eat just as you would during the daytime. Your sleeping schedule just changed. Nothing else changes, right? So there's no play in your metabolism. It's just eat the amount of calories that you should be eating. Just eat it at night. You know, nothing else to it. You heard fasting for 36 hours helps. I mean, I'm sure it helps if it makes you eat more calories on an average during a week, you know, but is it good for you? Probably not. Especially if you're trying to work out and put some muscle, I would not suggest fasting more than 16 hours a day. Let's see. Can you see my loose skin? I'm not that comfortable yet. Maybe one day, but that's still one of my biggest personal struggles is just even, you know, crossing that bridge. You have a problem eating meat. It typically gives you stomach ache. What's the best natural way for me to get more protein in every day? I would say dairy, protein powders, beans. I'm not really sure about if you want to go as far as tofu and stuff like that, but dairy is a great source of protein. Maybe fish, shrimp are amazing, tons of protein. You can maybe also do different kinds of protein pastas like chickpea pasta. I mean, pasta is huge on protein as well. Maybe wraps that have protein in them. A lot of different choices. Yep, loose skin is definitely a lot better than being obese. I can tell you that from personal experience. 100%. Never stop yourself from being the healthiest and best version of yourself just because you might have the possibility of having loose skin. Who cares? It's not that big of a deal. The bigger deal is the health complications that you may experience or are currently experiencing now. Your blood pressure, your triglycerides, like all spending time with your kids. Do you really care about loose skin if you can't even keep up with your son or daughter? Like that stuff matters so much more. Did I require surgery or did the muscle gain help? I haven't had any surgery besides LASIK. The muscle gain definitely helped me kind of fill out the loose skin, but I didn't have surgery. I may have it later on. I don't know yet, but we'll see. Would collagen help with the loose skin? No, don't waste your money on collagen. Collagen does absolutely nothing for loose skin. Don't waste your money if you have it. Don't buy it again. Save your money. It sounds like it may work, but it does not work for loose skin. Any more questions? Let's see. Do I recommend any vitamins or amino acids? Vitamins, I take vitamin D3 and zinc. Multivitamins are really not necessary because you're going to pee out most of them anyways. But if you want to take a multivitamin as like cheap insurance in a sort of way, kind of maybe if you're deficient in some kind of vitamin, you get a bit more of it. But the thing about vitamins is that every single individual uh, micronutrient in there is so underdosed that if you are truly deficient in that one single micronutrient, multivitamin will not really help you out that much. So I would suggest to actually get a blood panel done, see if you may be deficient in a certain kind of micronutrient and fix that. Instead of taking a multivitamin, kind of hoping that you kind of fill in the gaps you may be missing. Because micronutrients are vitamins, multivitamins are very underdosed in specific um, micronutrients, most of them, not all of them, but I just take zinc and vitamin D3. Is Met RX bars good to eat? They taste pretty good. They're pretty high in calories from what I remember them being. But if you want to eat a Metrics bar as a meal replacement, do it. Yep, you'd rather have loose skin and feel your healthiest than to be 350 and feel bloated and sick. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mentioned Greek yogurt in my diet, but I personally don't like Greek yogurt. Any other are still good for us. You can recommend. So, as far as quick meals, if you don't like yogurt, you probably don't like cottage cheese. So, what I would recommend is um, low carb wraps and leftover protein. It's a very easy, quick meal. You can put different kinds of sauces in there to make it taste different. Maybe even a protein shake or a smoothie with protein powder for a quick meal. The reason why I suggest Greek yogurts is because they take zero time to prepare, seconds to eat, and they're very high in protein and they kind of hit your, or my personally, a lot of other people's as well, but their macronutrient and calorie goals, by the simplest way possible, or one of the simplest ways. Is trail mix a good snack? So trail mix is a great snack if you're trying to gain weight. If you're trying to lose weight, I will try my best to stay away from trail mix, any kinds of nuts, almonds, walnuts, cashews, whatever is inside trail mix. The reason why I'm saying that is because trail mix is very, very high calories for a very small amount of food. When you're trying to lose weight, you want to eat the most amount of food for the least amount of calories. When you're trying to gain weight, you want to eat a little bit amount of food and a lot of calories. So trail mix is great for weight gain. I mean, if you eat some of it during your weight loss phase, it's fine, but it makes it more difficult. So I would personally not suggest trail mix or um, snacks as nuts or stuff like that, or dry fruit. How many grams of protein can the body absorb at one time? So per meal, the study that I've done, not done, read, depends on many factors. So per meal, your body can absorb between, I'm probably off by a little bit, but about 25 to 50 or 25 to 60 grams of protein per meal. But it depends on your body. So how big you are, how much muscle mass you have, but it also depends on the type of protein that you're eating. So different kinds of factors, and that's why it's a range like that. But roughly 25 to 60 grams from the studies that I've read, which are, I believe, are fairly recent. Do I use 0% fat-free Greek yogurt? I do. I love Greek yogurt. Any good lower ab routines, because you can't get the show, but I'm currently a low body fat percentage. Any kinds of leg raises, any kinds of hip hinge movements. So what I mean by hip hinge is where you raise your legs to work your lower abs, whether you are in like a dip machine raising your legs, whether you're on the floor raising your legs, whether you are doing a dead bug on the floor exercise, maybe you're doing a hanging leg raise. Any kind of hip hinge movement will help your lower core, lower abs. Thank you for being here, Grace. Do I recommend doing a loading phase for creatine or just 5 grams a day? I do not recommend loading phase. It's not necessary. Just take 5 grams a day. I've been taking 5 grams for the past around 7 years every single day. You definitely don't need a loading phase. Creatine is one of the most researched performance enhancing natural supplements. You definitely don't need a loading phase. But by the way, as far as supplements, you should not even be considering supplements unless every other factor of your nutrition and training is optimized. Here's what I mean by that is that so many people want to search for the best supplements. Maybe I'm missing this, maybe I'm missing that. Let me try this. No, supplements might, you know, give you 2, 3, 4% of progress if the other 96% are optimized. So if your sleep is absolutely terrible, then you should not even be considering creatine, pre-workouts, stuff like that. Focus on your sleep. If you're working out not optimally, kind of like you go into the gym, you're kind of doing whatever, there's no structure to it, you don't need a supplement. You need a more structured training program. If your nutrition is like, I don't know, terrible, if you're not eating the right foods, you shouldn't be looking at supplements or powders or this and that. Focus on your nutrition. But if those things are optimized, if you're already sleeping the best and the most amount that you can, if you're already eating the best and the right amounts of food possible, if your training routine is already pretty good, maybe then you should consider supplements. But it makes no sense to consider supplements that might give you 3, 4% of your total progress if the other 96% are just not here or there. That just does not make sense. Save your money, focus on things that work, and maybe consider supplements later if you need to. If that made sense what I just said so far, drop a fire emoji down below, because people ask me what's the best supplement all the time. It makes no sense. Fix your sleep, fix your nutrition, fix your training plan, fix your cardio. Get into the right mindset. That stuff matters so much more. Fix your habits, then think about supplements. No problem, JB. If you have any questions, ask them down below. I'll get to everybody or as many people as I can, because if you have a question, I can almost guarantee at least 100 other people will have the same exact question, so they get the benefit of me answering them as well without asking it. How important is sleep? Sleep is crucial. Sleep is extremely important. How much sleep is best? Impossible to say. I mean, some people function the best on 6 hours. Some people function the best on 7.5 hours. Some people sleep for 9 hours and feel absolutely terrible. You know, so the right amount of sleep is relevant to you because it's not just how long you sleep; it's about the quality of your sleep. How long are you in REM sleep for? That stuff matters. So step away from all the other things that you may be considering as far as your progress and look at the fundamentals: the sleep, nutrition, your habits, your training program. But sleep is relevant to you and what you feel like you're most optimized or you're functioning the best at. The first thing you read when researching artificial sweeteners says they cause weight gain, brain tumors, bladder cancer, and many other health hazards. Yeah, that sounds like something that's on the first page of Google as far as like different kinds of magazines or articles that talk about sweeteners or artificial sweeteners. And they do that for like shock factor. There's no proven studies. If you want a real, maybe I'll link it at the end of this video, but if you want real studies, they have to be done by actual scientists, not internet keyboard scientists or people writing for Cosmo magazine or like Healthline or something like that. I mean actual journals where they have published studies with research backing it up. That's what you want to look at. Actual this stuff that looks boring. If it looks boring to read, it's actually scientists that have done it. Then you found the right place. They have a research numbers actually proven to are relative to the scientists that did it and stuff like that. There's authors and there's abstracts and conclusions, stuff like that. That's what you want to read. You want to read the first page of Google and kind of Cosmo magazine or articles and stuff like that. That's what I mean by studies. Losing weight is the only thing that's going to fix your sleep. That might be a fact, but if that's what's going to take to fix your sleep, you got to do it. You got this, Jose. Can you get a six pack with 30% body fat in 6 months? I would say you could. I don't see why not. Depends on different factors. I mean, you could and you can't. It's how consistent you are. If you're, some people see abs at like 20-ish percent if they're actually developed. Some people don't see abs until they're like 12% body fat. It depends on the person, how much muscle mass you have, but you have no reason to not see abs in 6 months from where you're currently at. You know, Start today and you'll be glad you did. Did I have an end goal with my weight loss? I'm hoping to join the military. My end goal, I had no end goal. Like when I first started losing weight, what drove me was like I don't want to die. Like that was my thing. Like okay, well I have no idea what to do. I have no idea what is good, what's bad. I just know that you gotta do a ton of cardio and eat chicken breast, broccoli, and egg whites to lose weight. That was my mentality. My end goal was I didn't have any. It was just don't die and just try to get your health better. So that was my driving factor. But my end goal was pretty. I thought was my end goal, or what I thought was my end goal, was pretty skewed because I was looking at like magazines, I was looking at different articles, social media at the time, and I thought that my end goal was supposed to be the people that I see on these magazines. And every time I tried to, you know, every time, every single time I made some progress, I looked at the magazine and it looked nothing like that, and I felt defeated. So it took me a long time to realize that I will never look like that person in the magazines, and that I need to set realistic expectations for myself. So I started to just gauge progress on my own progress on based on where I was previously. And that got me to feel a lot better about myself because listen, I'm not going to be ever that ripped uh, bodybuilder or fitness model. I'm not that person. I'm bigger. I've got stretch marks. I got loose skin, stuff like that. So I'm like, I will never be that person no matter how much I try. But that takes like a personal realization. How do we know what type of protein to buy? There's tons of different proteins. Um, they have to be high quality. I would just stay away from like the CVS brands, the Walmart brands, because a lot of times those cheap brands are cheap for a reason because they severely underdose their protein content, and they use fillers to say that it's protein, different kinds of amino acids, and you don't want to buy cheap protein. Keep asking me your questions. You did a TDEE calculator and it suggests your maintenance is around 3,700 calories. Does that seem pretty high? You're strength training 4 times a week. It doesn't seem, I mean, it might seem high from a surface level, but depends on your body. If you're super active, if you're taller, if you're bigger, if you're all of these things, if you have a very active day job, 3,700 calories may be absolutely fine. Impossible to say just by reading it, but if that's what it said, it's probably within that range, maybe plus or minus a few hundred calories. How many calories should you eat to lose weight? Impossible to say. It depends on you, your goals, your body, your metabolism, all these things. What's up, nature bird? Your doctor threatened to kick your ass. Good. Maybe that's a good thing. My doctor told me you won't live to 30 at the current rate you're going. He didn't really kick my ass, but he kind of told me what is what. Maybe not the best approach, but it got me going. Sometimes you need that kind of rough love, or whatever you call it, tough love, not rough love. What's the most important thing to focus on when trying to lose weight? Sustainability. It's not about the how little can I eat, what's the most amount of cardio I can do, how many days a week do I have to work out, how many things can I restrict. It's about sustainability, doing things slowly enough so that they're actually sustainable and enjoyable, because this has to be a lifestyle change. It can't be a short-term fix. A lot of times people fail because they do too much, because they look at it as a very short-term fix. That's why they fail. They try to lose too much too quickly, eat too little, on a daily basis, do too much, more activity, more this and that, and then they burn out, or they feel like they're failed because they can't reach the 20 pounds of weight loss this week that they lost last week, because it's not realistic. You're not gonna, don't set yourself up for failure. So focus on your calories. Understand what calories are. Try to track them for a little bit, because even if you don't work out or do cardio, you still focus on calories and you're in a relative calorie deficit. Even if you're not in a calorie deficit, if you just log your food, you will end up actually probably losing weight, because logging your food keeps you more accountable. And as a result, it will put you in a calorie deficit, even if you're not thinking about it. Hopefully that helps. When using weights, would I recommend more reps and lighter weights, or heavier weights and less reps? I would recommend putting your body under muscular tension. So you don't want to do 100 reps of 5 pounds. You want to put your body, I would say, use the rep range of 8 to 15 reps. Just make sure inside those 8 to 15 reps, you're putting your muscles under a decent amount of strain. Not going to muscular failure every single set, but putting your muscle to at least 80, 90% strain, so you finish the set feeling like you could have done maybe one more rep, unless you're going until failure at the end of your workout. Muscular stress is very important. Use an 8 to 15 rep range, somewhere in there. There's no specific or perfect rep range, but if you're putting your muscle under actual strain with good form, proper reps in the 8 to 15 rep range, you will see results. There's no need to do 100 reps of 5 pounds or 2 reps of 800 pounds, unless, there is, but if you're an actual strength athlete. But for muscle growth, 8 to 15 is fine. Just focus on putting your muscle under, some kind of fatigue. Did I notice my weight loss stalling or slowing down as I lost my weight? Absolutely. Yeah, it will slow down because your metabolism will slow down, and you will lose less weight later on than you did when you first started. Absolutely. What's up, Vicky? Photoshop is not real. Nope. People get at me for photoshopping my pictures. And that makes me feel good, because it makes me know that I'm doing something right. Yeah, I wish magazines showed more real life pictures, because it does. The Photoshop they use, the angles they use, the lighting, the pump, it puts a very skewed perception of what reality actually looks like. Calorie deficit is essentially your body. So your body needs X amount of calories to maintain its weight on. Let's say your body is at 200 pounds. This is just random numbers. And in order to maintain your 200 pounds, you have to eat 2,000 calories. If you eat 2,000 calories worth of McDonald's, or if you eat 2,000 calories worth of chicken breasts and potatoes, your body will not budge weight because you're consuming 2,000 calories. But if you eat 1,900 calories, your body will lose a bit of weight because you're now 100 calories below your maintenance level. And to lose a pound of fat, you need to roughly lose or be in a 3,500 calorie deficit, total. So in a week, if you want to lose 1 pound, you got to eat roughly 3,500 calories below your maintenance. So 500 calories less every single day than your maintenance. Not exactly, but around that point. Does alcohol and weight loss? So I still drink once in a while. It's not a big deal. If you drink every day, it might get you off track because your calorie management is still the most important part. But if you're conscious about your alcohol consumption and you make it fit into your calories, you'll be fine. But if you get so drunk or tipsy that you lose absolute control and you start eating your face off afterwards, that's where the problem is. It's not so much from the alcohol, it's about what happens after you drink. How long after I wake up do I eat? Um, Depends. It changes every day. It's not a big of a deal for me because for me the most important part is getting a decent amount of or not decent, but the right amount of calories throughout the day that's relevant to me. The time of day that I eat doesn't matter. I just focus on eating um, the biggest portion of my meals in the later part of the evening because I do tend to eat a lot in the evening or snack in the evening. So as a result, if I eat the most amount of food in the evening and closer to bedtime, I will not snack that much. Awesome questions here. What state am I in? New York for now. Yeah, diets don't work. You have to make it a lifestyle because if you look at a diet, it's a very short-term, compressed viewpoint. And if you're doing a diet, you're likely restrict or overly restricting or eliminating something that you're just going to end up eating later on in the later part of your life. So look at this as a sustainable lifestyle first and foremost. Rest days. So rest days are super important. You got to give your body some rest time. Um, you can train 3 days a week or 4 days a week and be absolutely fine. People think that more working out or working out more is better. It's not. It's about giving your muscle enough muscular stress throughout the week, but actually adequately resting the muscle. You can do active recovery. Maybe you want to go for a walk and do active recovery. Maybe, you know, you don't need to work out all the time. I recommend at least 2 rest days a week to give yourself a break to recover properly and optimize next workouts because the goal isn't to be sore. Soreness is not an indicator of growth. Soreness is just a new stimulus to your body that you're just not used to. It doesn't mean that your muscle is growing just because you did a curl a different way and now you're sore. It doesn't mean your body is actually growing. It's just a different kind of stimulus, different kinds of angles. So you want to focus on growing your muscle by increasing the strength, increasing the reps that you do for the same exercise. Maybe reducing your rest periods for the same exercises. And the whole muscle confusion thing, all you guys with different muscle or workouts to confuse your muscle, that makes absolutely no sense. You got to do progressive overload, which is progressively overloading the muscle by means of more weight, more reps, shortened rest periods, maybe a different set or an additional set. Can I give a easy, full body weight strength training workout? So if you want to work on your lower body, depends if you have Gabriel asks if you have access to a gym. um I would assume that maybe if you have access to a gym, here's a maybe a simple body weight, lower body training. I would always start with some kind of a squat. This could be a, for example, this could be barbell squats, although it's not necessary. Maybe a hack squat. This could also be a leg press, different variations of a leg press, machine leg press. Maybe it's a plate loaded leg press. Maybe you want to squat on a Smith machine. It's also fine. I would also recommend some kind of a leg curl, either sitting down like I'm sitting down right now, doing leg curls for your hamstrings and your glutes, or maybe laying down face down doing the same thing because it works a bit differently. Maybe leg extensions if you want to. But most do some kind of a squat, do some kind of a leg press movement, and some kind of a leg curl or leg extension. You'll be absolutely fine. What was the biggest challenge during my weight loss journey? So my biggest challenge was struggling during the first like 3 or so years because I struggled a lot in the beginning because I had unrealistic expectations of myself, unrealistic standards of what I should be. My food relationship was absolutely terrible because I looked at French fries like they were the devil. I looked at cookies like they're the devil. And then every time I ate that food that I didn't allow myself, I lost every bit of control. I binged, and like I, it was bad, right? And then the binge eating led to guilt, which led to feeling like a failure, feeling like I'm not good enough to do this. Like, how's everybody else doing this? And I can't even control myself when there's a cookie in front of me. And that went on and on for at least like 3 years or so. That's a long time. So when you say you're in a plateau, try being in a plateau for years and years. So it wasn't easy. And that was the biggest challenge for me, is separating myself from the mentality of good and bad food and understanding that food is just energy. It's about what has more energy and what has less energy, and what does that food play a part as far as my goals. Once I understood this and what calories are, I was able to eat a couple of French fries or cookies and know that I'm not going to get off track because I understand what it's about. And also one of the biggest things that was a struggle for me was comparing myself to everybody else, comparing myself to fitness models, bodybuilders, strength athletes, my friends who looked a lot better than me. And every time I compare myself to them, I felt like I wasn't good enough. So it got me off track every time. To like, if I compare myself to a fitness model, I started looking at my own flaws and what I'm doing wrong. Oh, I got this right here. I got this right there. Oh, I don't look as good as them. What are they doing differently? What am I doing wrong? That starts to second guess myself and start creating a whole different kinds of problems where I should have just focused on being a bit better today than I was yesterday, comparing that to myself, not somebody else. What app do I use? If you notice yourself kind of maybe experiencing what I've experienced before, type me in the comments below. Because I know there's no way I'm the only person that goes through this. And what app do I use for food diaries? My Fitness Pal. It's absolutely easy. It's free. You don't need a paid version. Let's see. Should you have a cheat day in order for your body to not think you are starving it, or is it a myth? Your body starving itself is not true. If your body, uh, like the whole starvation thing, um, if your body went to starvation mode, where it actually held on to the weight, people wouldn't be dying from famine. In the old times, it's your body loses weight if it consumes less calories than your body needs to sustain its weight. Period. So, but as far as cheat days, you the thing about cheat days is if you give a designated day out of the week to eat uncontrollably, it's extremely easy to go off track because you will overconsume calories, and you put the 6 previous days that you were in a deficit now at a maintenance or a surplus, which will cause you to not lose weight. So cheat days are very it's like a day of buffet eating. You eat whatever you want from the time the sun goes up to the time the sun goes down. What I would suggest is if you really want to cheat, and it shouldn't be a cheat because you're not doing anything wrong, you should have a meal that you just want to eat. Make it a meal, because if you eat uncontrollably from like the entire day, you can go over calories very easily and just make your entire deficit into a maintenance or a surplus now. But the most important thing is, how do you not feel like you need a cheat day? It's to make your favorite foods just be a part of your nutrition. If you want to cheat on a burger, why not just have a burger as part of your nutrition? Burger still has calories. This still has carbs, fats, and proteins. And you're going to be eating carbs, fats, and proteins from regular, nutritious or healthy food. So make that burger fit your nutrition to the point where you don't need a cheat, because you're already including that in your nutrition. And think about it differently. There shouldn't be a need for a cheat day. Dessert is absolutely okay. You never skip dessert. How did I stop binge eating? I stopped binge eating by allowing myself more of the food that I love, and by focusing on volume eating. So by focusing on eating as much food as possible, like more vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, more voluminous carbs, I didn't have the desire to keep eating uncontrollably because I was so full from the food that I previously ate. A lot of my binge eating happened because I told myself I can't eat sugary foods, I can't eat fries, I can't eat like a chicken wing because it wasn't allowed. So once I understood that I can actually eat that food because it just has calories in it, it's all about how many calories it has in it, I stopped binge eating as much. On top of that, once I started to eat more food and filling myself up with as much food as possible, I started to not have the desire to eat other food uncontrollably because my hunger was managed in a lot better way. But binge eating may happen for personal reasons. Maybe you have trigger foods. Maybe you have different, things go on in your life. Stress eating. So for me, that's what worked. I appreciate all these questions. It definitely helped out a lot of people. Yeah, food obsession is a big deal. Food for me was a very like a coping mechanism. You know, I looked at it like like hindsight's always 2020. But I used to eat uncontrollably because I felt like, who cares? I'm already like this big. What's an extra pizza gonna do? And a lot of times it was a very slippery slope. That if I didn't catch myself, if my doctor didn't catch myself, I'll probably be 450 right now, 450 pounds minimum. What's my favorite disgusting sandwich? I don't know if you mean disgusting as far as like giant and just like greasy, but I used to put down two Big Macs in like 2.5, 3 minutes. That was my thing. They had two Big Macs for $4 back in the day. What's my journey so far? Was I overweight? Yeah, I was 365 pounds. I was pre-diabetic. I had high blood pressure, triglycerides, and fatty liver, like all these things. Was I addicted to carbs? Um, I was addicted to good food, salty food, sweet food. What kind of diet food do I consume? I'm not on a diet. I eat what I want as long as it fits my calories. I eat ice cream for breakfast once in a while, or not. I mean, at breakfast time, not just replace it for breakfast. But it doesn't matter what I eat. I eat what I want to, and I'm accountable for it. I get so many comments, Bonnie, that I probably skipped your question. If I skipped your question, I apologize. I get so many. I can only answer so many questions at once. Yeah, two for $4. Yep. I used to eat that for lunch all the time. Yeah, a lot of amazing people in this chat just sharing a lot of their stories. 19 pounds in 6 weeks is very, very good. I've never heard of the app Yuka. Never heard of it. If you have any other questions, shoot me a comment below and I'll answer it as best as I can. Oh, I see your question here. I have to lose 50 pounds more to be eligible for a double knee replacement. Uh-huh. So you're on a cardiac diet. I'm on a wheelchair. What kind of exercise should I do? Would chair yoga help? Um, if you're wheelchair bound, I'm not an expert in wheelchair bound exercises, but the same concepts apply. You have to be in a caloric deficit and you have to possibly move a bit more. So if you want to maybe move yourself in a wheelchair a bit, but I was still focused mostly on nutrition and eating the right amounts of food. So if you're able to be more active in a wheelchair, by all means do it. The kind of activity that you do doesn't really matter as much as long as you can do it. I would put 95% of your focus into eating right, understanding calories, understanding what you should be eating, how much you should be eating, because that stuff is the most important part. So you have to understand nutrition, how much your body needs, how much you're eating, how much were you previously eating, log your food, track your food, and that will drive the most of your success, not any kinds of exercises. If you're getting value from this Q&A, this Ask Me Anything video so far, drop a fire emoji down in the comments below. Let's take one more question. So Matt says, your wife is doing keto. Any thoughts on what foods of hers I should focus on or stay away from to avoid pitfalls? Um, I don't suggest keto. It is not sustainable. A lot of people say that it is sustainable. Don't follow keto, every single day of the year. And the same concepts apply. If you want to apply some keto foods into your regular nutrition, do it. It's going to be more high in calories and more high in fat, but still calories apply. Keto is not magical. Keto still has the same things that are working for it that works for any other diet, which is a calorie deficit. It reaches a calorie deficit by a different means, by cutting out carbs. That's it. Totally up to you what you want to eat. It's not necessary. The specifics of the food that you eat are not necessary. It's about, is it sustainable to you? That's the most important part. You're 315 at 25 years old. Where do I begin? If you have no idea where to start, track your food on a piece of paper, on an app, maybe on your phone, your computer. Write what you're eating, understand nutrition, understand how to get yourself to learn about calories. That's the most important part. Don't look at any kinds of diets. Don't look at supplements. Don't look at the perfect workouts, the perfect cardio. Log your food, go outside and go for a 30-minute walk every day. Get most of your carbs from fruits and vegetables, potatoes, sweet potatoes, broccoli, cucumbers, salads. Get lean protein, or even potatoes. Get lean protein in your nutrition. Chicken, lean beef, steak, fish, stuff like that. That's how you get started from square one. Yes, so I walked. Yeah, so walking was my only form of cardio. How much? I didn't walk too much in the beginning. I couldn't. It was just too difficult. It was maybe like 15, 20 minutes. I eventually worked up to about 8 to 10,000 steps over some time. My current calorie deficit is around 2,500 calories. But before, when I was first losing weight, it was just extremely low because I was stupid. And I learned quickly that lower does not mean better. Lower means that you're going to fall off track quicker. Cool. So I enjoyed this Q&A today, and I appreciate everybody for being here. If you got value from this Q&A so far, make sure you drop a fire emoji down below. Maybe text them by the comments below. They may also want to get this information and see this. Share my video. I would appreciate it so much, and I'll see you